Good morning, warriors. Welcome to Why Shy Why. Today, I want to talk about three things that make Agile break. Agile is one of those things that I love, obviously. I keep talking about it, but it is a very disruptive uh, process, a very disruptive idea in an organization, especially one that has been going on for a while. You know, one of those organizations that might be a leader in industry, or at least been around in that industry for a long time. Um, I want to talk about three things that break Agile today. Okay, so three things that break Agile. These are really tough things to fix, guys. Okay, so I will, I'm going to have a lot of difficulty telling you how to fix them. But the reason for that is because it's very horses for courses. Maybe an example will help. So, the approach is number one, okay? People think that Agile has one approach, or Scrum has one approach, or, XP has one approach, or lean methodologies have one approach. Yes, they do. On paper, there's one approach because, well, hey, you have to start somewhere. But the key thing with anything that's Agile, if you go back to the manifesto, it basically talks about evolution of the process, learning from doing, okay? And so we repeat, we learn, okay? And so every organization that's going through this thing is going to learn differently, purely because every organization has a different context, right? There'll be different elements that play into the process, the transformation into an agile organization or into an agile team. So guys, don't worry too much about having exactly the thing that is on the piece of paper. You don't have to, I mean, we're agile consultants, but not once will I assume that when I walk out the door that an organization or a team will implement exactly how I thought they should implement, right? It's up to them. That's the beauty of the situation, is that it allows them to grow as they need to. So long as they're always evaluating, self-evaluating, that's sort of part of the parcel of the deal. And so what you will find is that because there's no prescriptive approach to it, it becomes quite hard, because what you've got to do is you've got to self-evaluate. And when you ask somebody or a team to self-evaluate, especially one that has never done it before, well, let me put it this way. I found that teams that are handheld through that process do a lot better. But those that are asked to self-evaluate and then, the people asking disappear, bit of a crash and burn scenario, okay? All right, so the approach, really important. Number two, guys, is culture, okay? For lack of a better word. I know that's overused quite a bit, but culture happens to be one of the key reasons why or why not agile transformations in organizations succeed, okay? And so a lot of it is tied back to change management and the ability for an organization to evolve. I'm thinking about one particular organization that I worked with, and it wasn't until I left and years later that I realized that the team that I was with, we evolved rapidly and without very many cultural turbulences, right? Things would happen and we would just adapt and we would come back and implement the changes that we needed to. So whilst that team wasn't in an labeled agile framework, what they did was they self-evaluated very often and were able to pick up on the things that we were lacking and fix and move on. So learn, repeat, and action, okay? So culture has a lot to do with it. Things like, there was someone who told me very recently, can't remember who it was, the line was that agile is disruptive, okay? And I love that because it does really break an organization or a team. And the reason I think it does that is because it really shines a light on the things that are broken inside that organization or in that team. So people need to be comfortable enough in their hearts that, if they own a particular function and there are broken stuff in that function, and let's face it, most of us have that. We're always in a state of evolution, right? If there's a light shown on that particular problem, they need to be okay with that. They need to be able to own that and say, look, either that was a mistake and, we've got to fix it, or I wasn't good enough to be able to implement it properly in the first place, or this is a work in progress and I haven't even finished it yet. So obviously it's a bit dud, right? And so, but you need to have people that are comfortable to open up like that. And that means there needs to be people around them that are not going to sort of point at them and say, hey, you suck. And that means that there needs to be senior management that allows for a decent amount of experimentation or work in progress or skunk works that will help people learn, right? Or groups learn, or the whole organization learn. So culture plays a huge part. And number three, guys, is leadership. And I'm specifically today talking about communication within leadership. So what I hate seeing is change management committees. What is that? Committees are talking to each other. Committees should be talking out, right? And so there's the problem. I feel like committees are too busy being internally involved when change is all about people and the greater organization and the greater employee population. So forget about talking to each other, start talking to everybody else. Change is about communication. Communication is the key to change. The more you communicate, whether it's good or it's bad, the better the change will be in your organization, right? So if something bad happens, you communicate. If something good happens, you communicate. This is what needs to happen. This all happens if you have a really good leadership team, right? And I don't mean technically competent leadership team. I mean a leadership team that have high EI, high EQ, an ability to show people vision, an ability to grow a followership, right? Those are the sort of people that sort of just fly through huge, scary, disruptive change in an organization because people are willing to follow them. Okay, so in my sort of summary, I want to say a couple of things. Number one, if you are going through change, and let's bring it back to Agile, if you are going through an Agile transformation in your organization and your team, make sure you're always communicating. Number two, understand that there are underpinning cultures that will really influence whether your transformation is mediocre or successful or just wrong, okay? And the last thing is, don't worry too much about approach. Fit it into your own organization. Ensure that the Agile transformation is good for you, not what's good for, Microsoft or Suncorp. What's good for you is what's going to be good for you in the future. All right? Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in. Hey, listen, give me a buzz or do some sharing if you are interested in talking about this a little bit more. Cheers.